again. So I'll just get right into the presentation. Okay, so good morning, everyone again, and thank you for joining us for the session 2 of our Green Working Group. Today, we will be talking about materials management. So I will be sharing this presentation with you after this call. If you want to refer to the list of all the participants, you will have it in the presentation. And we went over the purpose of the Green Working Group. So today we'll be talking about waste recycling and green purchasing. And these are actually two different sections in your green action list. So I will also give you assignment again before the session 3 to complete these two sections in the green action list. So I have marked them on this slide with the star, those two sections that we will be talking about today. So what is really sustainable materials management? I found this really nice circle from EPA, and you might have heard recently a lot in the news talking about circular economy. So what does that really mean? So when you think about making any product, we always extract some materials from Earth that are used to make products. They are then going through the manufacturing process, and then the products are distributed to the customers for use. And then once we use products, there is some kind of end of life management for all the products. So, unfortunately, the old thinking was, well, we use item once, single use, and then we throw it away, and then it goes to the landfill, and then we just forget about it. And when you think about this kind of waste management, the waste just piles up in the landfill indefinitely. And a lot of it stays there for a long time. So the preferred way to manage our waste is, well, always, first of all, reduce. Reduce as much as you can. Try to not buy things that you don't need. And then another way to do it is reusing products. Can we repurpose them for something else? If we can't do that, then another preferred way is to recycle or compost products. And then if we have to throw them away, then energy recovery is a good way to use trash. Actually, in Westchester, there is an incinerator, so a lot of trash goes there and it's burned for energy. And the least favorable method of disposing of waste is sending it to landfill. So we should try to avoid that as much as possible. So the sustainable materials management is a systemic approach to using and reusing materials more productively over their entire life cycle. So we want to think about the whole life cycle of the product. And ideally, to make it circular, that product will not end in a landfill, but will be reused to something else. So we need to start thinking differently about our natural resources. How do we use them? And what is the impact on the environment? So we should be thinking about reusing materials most productively, reducing toxic chemicals in our materials and the environmental impact, and then ensuring that there are sufficient resources for today's use, but also in the future. We all know that, fossil fuels or precious metals, we use a lot of aluminum, for example. These are resources that are limited in the earth. And one day we'll run out of them, probably not in our lifetime, but we need to think about future generations as well. So I will talk about the waste and recycling, and then I will pass it on to Teresa, and she will talk to you about green purchasing. So every section in the green action list starts with policy. You might have noticed when I assigned you to go through the organizational commitment, you created your overall company policy. But it would be good if you try to also create policies for all of these different areas of focus. So the goal of waste and recycling policy should be zero waste business. So think about all discarded materials as resources that could be used for something else and ideally not sent to a landfill. So I found some interesting statistics. For example, plastic bags we use every day take 10 to 20 years to decompose. Plastic bottles can take up to 450 years to decompose, and aluminum cans can take 80 to 200 years in landfills to get completely decomposed. So you can see that it's a really long time for these products to decompose. And we don't even know what that really means to decompose. A lot of plastics, we know that they fall apart into microplastics. And there have been many studies recently where we know already that microplastics are in our drinking water. They're in our homes because a lot of our clothes are made of polyester. They shed little particles and they are in dust in our homes. They have done even research on Mount Everest, where become such a huge tourist destination recently. A lot of people go hiking there and shed a lot of particles from their clothes, those plastic clothes that you use for hiking. And there are a lot of microplastics. So we don't even know full implications on human health, but plastics are now in our bodies because we eat them and drink them for water. Okay, next slide. So I just wanted to mention this. I think it's very interesting. We think that when we recycle something, then it's just reuse and it's okay. But actually only 9% of all plastics that are produced really get recycled. And the reason why 91% doesn't, because a lot of it ends up in the environment as trash. And even if you recycle, the problem is that a lot of plastics are just not good commodities. They are not sellable on the market. The plastics number 1 and 2 are more easily recyclable, but other plastics, those other numbers, they're just really hard to produce. And those processes are so intense that it's not even worth oftentimes recycling them. And you also might have heard that China used to take a lot of paper from the United States, and then they said, no, we don't want it anymore because it was so contaminated that they couldn't reuse it. So it's kind of, recycling seems kind of like a myth. It's a system that completely failed, and we should try to just not waste so much. By 2050, there will be 12 million metric tons of plastics in the landfills. That's about 35 times as heavy as the Empire State Building. And by mid-century, it's estimated that there will be more trash in the oceans than fish by volume. So these are quite staggering numbers. So this is an example of a wastage recycling policy from New Crystal Restorations. It's our member, and they have done really good job creating very detailed policies for all of our areas of focus. So this is just an example that you can look into if you want to develop your own policy. But these are mostly the questions from our Green Action List. So another required action that we have in our list is conducting a waste audit. And this really helps you to identify the waste reduction, reuse, recycling, and composting practices that would work the best for your own facility. So the steps of of a waste audit is first you select your team. You all already have created your own green teams. So you can use your green team as your waste audit team. And then you would do facility walkthrough. I think we have some questions, so let me see. Oh, Antoine is asking, by when did I say that there will be more trash and fish in the oceans? By 2050. So pretty soon. Definitely in my lifetime.
The rest of our lifetimes as well.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
I mean,
so we'll see that. Unless we do something about it, that would be nice. So when you do a facility walkthrough, think about all the locations where you generate waste in your facility and what types of waste are produced. So a lot of your organizations are mostly office based, so it's going to be more easy for you to do. But think about also the placement of the waste bins. So if you give every employee a trash can next to their desk, they're most likely going to use it. So maybe you need to also place the recycling bins strategically, so those are more accessible than the trash. So the people recycle first and then put things into the trash. But also you don't want to contaminate your recycling. So you need to, find the balance. And
Yana,
then, yeah.
Can I just add one thing to that?
Yeah.
So I actually read a really interesting study about the placement of recycling bins in large organizations. And my wife worked on this issue for the UN, where they originally had recycling bins directly at people's desks. And they found that people, when they have the bins directly at their desks, they're actually less likely to recycle properly because you don't have the social pressure of people seeing you go to the bin and sort properly. So when they have larger containers in like accessible areas, but in areas where, maybe there's other offices around or people are more likely to like not throw the can in the paper bin because they know people might be watching. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, make it convenient, maybe have a paper thing because everyone's going to dump paper in the right bin at your desk, but then maybe make people get up and go to the sorting place. And, it's a lot of it's psychological too.
Right. It's actually healthy to stand up every once in a while and take a walk a little bit.
Right, exactly.
So maybe we should, yeah, that's a good idea. And so then think about, what are those locations where waste is generated and what is the type of waste? And then also, who is taking that waste at the end of the day and where is it going? Then you can do a trash sort. This is much more involved way to look at your waste. You can wear protective clothing and you physically sort through your waste from that day. So you would spread it on a large plastic sheet and dump all your waste, and you would separate it into different categories. Here are some most common categories on this slide, but they might be different for your organization. I know that Wildan has a lot of construction material, for example. So it depends on the industry, of course. And then once you find that biggest category of your waste, then you can think about, okay, what do we do with it? Can we reduce it? Is this recyclable? And how can we set some goals for getting rid of this trash, and maybe increasing our recycling rate? So on the next slide, I wanted to show you this video from our member, Hendrick Hudson Library. So even if you don't feel like doing like the very involved trash sort, you can always measure your waste. I know that especially in Westchester County, it's the waste is picked up by municipalities. So most of the businesses don't have any numbers from their bills, but there is a way to measure your waste regardless. If you're a tenant, if you own the building, it doesn't matter. And so I want to play you this video. It's just 1 minute, but it's really, really good. Oh, here you go.
Yana, we can't hear anything.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you could hear it.
Sorry. I think there's actually a way to share audio through Zoom as well. You need to check, I think, when you share your screen to make sure you're sharing audio or something like that.
Okay. I will just let you watch it in the presentation
Okay.
because I don't know how to do it now. I'm sorry. I thought this
That's
would
fine.
work.
Hey, Jana, it's very easy actually. When you click share screen, unshare and reshare, on the bottom left, there'll be two checkboxes. And one of
I
them
see it.
says
Okay.
optimize for video and audio.
Thank you, Antoine. Okay, I found it.
Hello, I'm Katie Karachi.
Can you hear it?
Gary Leonardo. We are staff members at
Yeah, we hear.
Library. The library has been a member of the Green Business Partnership since 2013, became Green Business Certified in 2015, and has received numerous awards.
The video's not moving though for me. It's weird.
Today,
Yeah,
we
me
will
either.
share with you our
It's just frozen. Don't worry about it.
up with to be able to track and record our waste. Using a luggage scale, we weigh each bag of trash before it's put out to the dumpster for trash collection. We also recycle paper and commingles and utilize the luggage scale to weigh these items as well. So we do subtract out the weight of any trash containers that are used. As another part of our green commitment, we collect the food scraps from the employee kitchen to compost in our compost bin. These scraps are measured and recorded the same way. Though we don't weigh our trash every day, we pick 1 week each month and average it out for the year. I hope we've provided you with some helpful information.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does, we have a lab and so we have to be really careful with any microorganisms coming in, but I would really like to institute food scraps and maybe in our break room and take them home. Is anybody doing that in business beside, and
Yeah, I actually used to work for Energize New York, which is the PACE financing program in Westchester. And we did that in the office. We would put the scraps in a bin and then one of our colleagues took it home.
okay.
She actually did require that we only put organic stuff there because she wanted to have organic garden. So,
Oh,
it's up to you. But yeah, we did that. There was in that building, there was no recycling. We actually used to take our recycling home as well.
we did get our landlord to put in recycling bins. It was part of our contract when we signed the lease. They didn't have recycling bins. And we're still the only company in that building, I think, that recycles. It's horrible, but that's another thing we could talk about. Thank you.
Sure, that's a great question. Yeah, Jody.
I was just going to say we do that with the composting, but we take it. Our town has. You can get compost like buckets, and then you bring them to the town composting bin. So I take it to the one in Pound Ridge, and we empty it out, but we keep it in the office. And we. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you ever see? I'm so concerned about bugs. That would just, so do you ever see, I mean, it's going in the trash now and we take the trash out daily. So my thoughts are, why can't it go into a compost bin that's removed daily?
Yeah, we also sometimes will keep it in in the freezer with the lid on it.
Oh, yeah.
So like you can put a container, and I've got, we have a little compost bucket in the kitchen with, you know, the composting, the biodegradable bags and everything in it. And
That's
then
a
you can
great
just
idea. We could put a designated small freezer in the break room just for compost. And then definitely there would not be any bugs, and then we can remove it. That's a great idea. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you, Jody.
You could buy a small freezer, but then you are using a lot of energy. So I
Right,
don't know which one is better.
I know that's true. You're using more energy, but our whole facility is full of freezers because we have milk. So, but I cannot take any risks with bugs coming in. It's just.
But I have never ever had bugs in my house from composting, and I don't take it out every day. I don't have time.
I have. So
Really?
not in this house. In my other house, I did. Yeah, I did. So
I have one
okay.
of those metal bins, so I don't know. It worked for me for many years.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. So this next slide is about proper labeling and training your employees. So it's important that the bins that in your office are labeled so staff understand what goes into what bin. Because if you contaminate the waste, then it's really hard to recycle it. And that's also the reason why the recycling rates of plastics are so small. Only 9% are recycled and reused, because a lot of waste is contaminated and it damages the machines in the facilities that sort the waste. Actually, there's a huge issue with single stream recycling. When you mix paper and glass in one bin, the glass breaks. The paper is really, really hard to recycle and reuse, and it's much less valuable commodity on the market. It breaks the machines that recycle the paper. And then training your employees and custodial staff. So in New York City and in Westchester, it's actually a law to recycle. So even as tenant, you should be asking, where is my trash going? We had many organizations that don't really understand what's happening with their waste after they leave the office, because the custodial staff sometimes comes, mixes everything into one bin. You think you're recycling, and then it goes into one dumpster outside. We were at clients where we would look outside and we're like, well, there's just one dumpster. So where's this recycling going? And they're like, oh, yeah, there's no recycling bin outside. So just start asking these questions. So we all know those bins, blue for paper, red for all those plastic bottles and aluminum cans, maybe glass, but there are some other materials and products that you can recycle and even donate in your business. So we're so dependent now in our lives on electronics. So we have a lot of e-waste, right? You can recycle all of that. And a lot of it also contains dangerous toxins and chemicals that should actually not go to the trash at all. Toner cartridges can be recycled. CFL bulbs, fluorescent bulbs, they contain mercury, should not go to a regular trash. And then you can donate old furniture, construction materials, old uniforms, linens, and even unserved food. I know that during COVID, that's not really, I guess, an issue, but if you were ever gonna have like a bigger event or a conference and you have some unserved food, we can definitely connect you with some organizations that would repurpose that food for people that need it. So for all of these categories in the Green Action List, we have some links that you can look at. If you want to dispose of those materials, recycle them, you can find those resources. Always use the Green Action List as a resource. Okay, so now I will pass it on to Teresa, and she will talk about the green purchasing.
Thank you, Yana. Good morning, everyone, again. Thank you. When purchasing items for your company, you should ask these questions. Do we need to buy this product? And how can we reduce the quantity purchased? One way to get around this is by purchasing reusable products. Anything that can be reused again and again would be a good product to purchase. Products with recycled content is preferred, for example, office paper supplies and paper towels that come with recyclable contents. In terms of electronics, the preferable products are EPA Energy Star rated products. And you can find more information on these products and how to choose one. The most sustainable products can be found in our Green Action List links. Buy products that has the least impact on the environment in terms of being non-toxic and biodegradable. Setting a green purchasing policy is important because it outlines what the company sets out to achieve. For example, New Crystal Restoration, one of our members made a list of the areas in which they would like to reduce their use of non-reusable items, such as replacing one-use dishes and cups with reusable items. When thinking about green purchasing, it is ideal to purchase items that can be reused to reduce negative impacts on the environment. Areas where reusable products can be used include office supplies and dishes or utensils. This allows us to extend the life cycle of products. So examples of reusing can be using kitchen mugs instead of disposable cups, reusable towels in the bathroom instead of paper towels, reusable servingware for staff meetings when we could have staff meetings again, and using reusable coffee filters is also a good idea.
And I just want to add that these are actually examples from our members. So these are not from the internet. So these are really possible things to do in your organization. And especially I wanted to talk about the Keurig because I know it's such a, for some organization, it's such a benefit for employees, and some employees feel like you can't take that coffee from me. People love it. But when you think about those little plastic cups and how many cups a day people drink, it's crazy how much waste it creates. So there are alternatives. You can just buy ground coffee and refill those little refillable filters.
So this is our green purchasing inventory list. It's found in our greenhouse gas emissions tool, and we ask that you fill this out. The purpose here is not to put all your company's inventory, but just the items that you buy the most and the most quantity of, and make a more sustainable choice. So you put the products you buy now into the conventional product column, then the cost of units and the quantity. The unit section can be skipped, which is right next to the conventional column. And this is a good place to compare the difference in price between the conventional products bought and the greener option, and to reduce the quantity bought. So thank you. This completes the presentation. We can stop share and open the floor to questions, concerns, and any ideas you may have.
Can I just, so, you know, when we started the milk bank, everyone uses paper towels for cleanliness, but we did not, and we have not used paper towels, and they put paper towels on their counters before they put the milk out. So we have designated cloth towels for different things. So our white towels are for milk. Our gray towels are for cleaning the equipment. And we have, basically it's those two. So we had a problem with the bacteria once in our lab from our towels. And actually the staff was great because they said everybody else uses paper towels and throws them out. So what we did have to put chlorine in our washing machine to get rid of bacteria. So That was one thing we weren't doing, but we needed to do that. So we use everything for hand towels. We have a color, milk, we have a color, and equipment, we have a color. And they're really receptive on that. I mean, they love that we have a green committee and that one thing we had to do in our break room, they weren't recycling and rinsing they were throwing their aluminum containers and plastic containers in the trash. But to Yana's point, once we put 3 containers in the break room, paper, rinse, and paper, plastic, and trash, they stopped doing that. The trash was non-existent. We don't even need a trash can anymore in the break room. And then what we did is, which I didn't realize, in our orientation, we had a thorough instruction for new employees of what to do, because they were just throwing their cups in the trash, their coffee cups, if they walked in the door like that. So once we put it into our orientation and taught and said, no, we recycle everything, it was done. So the last thing to do is the food scraps. So I have to think about that.
Excellent. Thank you so
That's
much
wonderful
for sharing that.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And it's interesting how when you do implement these waste reduction measures, really can eliminate waste. Like, it's incredible. Like, even in your own home, I've noticed when we started to stop buying certain things or diverting things or reusing things, like, you only need to take the trash out like once a week versus like 2 or 3 times a week. And it's a lot less work. It's a lot less buying bags and dragging our trash down to the corner of our driveway or whatever. And it really has an impact also on just like, your workload, and but beyond just producing less waste that in our case in Westchester mostly gets incinerated. But it's just, it's a great how you really can see visibly a difference when you implement these measures.
I'll add one more thing, Scott, to your point. Our trash in the home is way down. But it's still there. It still exists with actually packaging. So we don't even use plastic bags in our trash. Until COVID hit, we were buying everything in bulk.
Right.
You can go, but now you can't. Everything is
Exactly.
now packaged. So I actually save those Ziploc bags that the millet comes in or the rice comes in. And if there's any wet trash that might get generated and can't be recycled, we put them in there. So our trash is now these Ziploc bags that are repurposed for trash instead of trash bags. And when people open up our trash can, they're always, there's no trash bag here. And I said, no, we don't need to. It can mostly be recycled. And if not, put it in one of these little bags that we keep right by the trash that they could throw it in there and then seal it.
That's really smart, because I was going to say, like, during COVID, that's the one thing that we're really falling behind on is the amount of packaging, cardboard boxes. I'm always breaking down. It's insane. And now that they don't, of course, we use our reusable bags when we go shop, the plastic bags. I don't even have plastic bags anymore to line trash, cans in my own home. So I'm like, it's kind of a good problem, but I'm like, do I need to buy now bags? But if you're saying that you're finding bags in some of the packaging that's being delivered to you, what a wonderful idea to use that instead of buying like a roll of bags for your trash bin in the house. It's a great idea.
It's worked for us. We have a little bin where we keep all those bags as we order, and then someone can just grab it if we have to, because the town actually sent us a note saying you need to put your trash in bags. So I didn't want to buy a plastic bag. We're in Ossining, so we resorted to using those, and they're, they come in sizes from this big. Raisins are in there. They can be this big. So there's enough to reuse and repurpose.
Interesting.
Great. It's so nice to hear how things can be done if you try. And Julie, thank you so much for sharing. And I actually encourage all of you, because that video that I showed you, and I'll send it to you again so you can see the actual video. But from Henrik Hudson, it's our new initiative. So we have this Green Member Minute, and all of you can create a video that is 1 minute. We don't want it to be a sales pitch, but something about sustainability. And Julie, like washing those cloth wipes, that would be such a great video, because I feel like a lot of businesses say, no, that's not possible. We can't do it. I was told by my son's daycare, so many things can't be done. And I moved to New Hampshire, and my son's daycare is using cloth wipes. It can be done. So that's why we have this Green Member Minute, because things can be done and we want to share them.
I'll just add one more thing. The first year we got inspected by our organization, they wrote down that we were not using paper towels and were washing our linens, and that was unsustainable, they said. And then we proved that it wasn't. We made this big poster, and they actually held it at a conference that we had showing how we had reduced our waste and that we used cloth masks. No one was using cloth masks at the time. No one was using cotton bonnets and cotton. Everything was disposable for the workers, and none of that is disposable now. And they actually asked us to make a presentation on it because they thought it wasn't possible to do.
That's amazing. If you could share that poster with us, that would be great.
I think I have, but yeah, I can share it to you. I'll email it to you. I
Okay.
showed it to Ethan when he came out, and he saw it. It's prominently on our at our.
Oh,
milk tank.
maybe, yeah, maybe it's in somewhere.
I can show it and send
Okay.
it. I'll send it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Other concerns, maybe? Do you think it would be feasible to measure waste in your organizations? Katie, what do you think?
Yeah, our office is actually pretty small.
Mhm.
And then I've thought about the composting, and when I looked everything up, there's really not much around here, but supposedly the town that I live in is creating a recycling center and gardening center. I guess they're rebuilding the town hall, and on Earth Day, they came out with this proposal that they're gonna have, places where we could drop off compost. So I was pretty excited that it all kind of came in line at the same time. So I've been looking out for stuff like that. I've been trying to find places where you could drop off compost, because a lot of us live in apartments and stuff, so we don't have yards. So
Where do you live, Katie? Where do you live?
I live in Middletown, New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the farms do, but they're very particular of what they want dropped off when I've been doing my research. So it's kind of been very interesting to see what's actually going on. But we have a new mayor, and he's very health conscious. He's very earth conscious. So he's been doing a lot of changes, which is really
Oh,
cool.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's got bicycle programs going on. We're having our Memorial Day parade, but everybody's got to ride their bike. Like he really tries.
Oh, that's great.
He tries to get everybody going. It's pretty neat. So I'm hoping that'll coincide with what I need to do, because I'd be the one dropping everything off, and we don't have recycling in our building either, even though we have bins. But I think at the end of the night, when the office cleaners come, I don't think that they're separating anything. So I'm gonna have to institute that too, where I take it at the end of the week to the recycling.
Believe it or not, that's a common issue we see, even though it is the law, to recycle and source separation is required. And it's, they're not allowed to do that. We do see that, a lot of companies, especially tenants, trying to do the right thing and separating. And then at the end of the day, janitorial staff, not to no fault of their own in many cases, just not being trained properly and, mixing everything together or whatever, assuming it's not single stream, which, if it is single stream, it is possible that they can mix together some papers and the plastics and whatnot. But a lot of times we've had tenants where it's literally one phone call or conversation and they get it sorted out. It's just a misunderstanding. So sometimes it's very easy to fix that problem through communication. And other times it really is a training issue, or maybe they don't have the procedures in place. But we do have examples of companies where they've worked through that issue. So instead of maybe we can help you with that, because you don't want to have to burden yourself with making it more complicated than it is. It might just be a phone call.
Yeah, I think we tried to address it, but our maintenance man is kind of rogue.
Okay.
He's like Hulk Hogan. He doesn't care.
Does his own thing. All right.
Yeah, I don't really think he cares.
You don't want to start a fight about it and make it a whole compliance issue. And we're going to call, because one time actually one of our companies thought that because I work for the county government, for some reason I emailed, I think from my county email, they thought I was like a compliance police, and they thought we were going to write them up, and they got being fine. But it actually, they very quickly fixed the problem, because they thought that we were going to come with our clipboards and find them. And it turned out it was a complete miss. But anyway, I mean, so whatever, if that's something that he responds to, then you can just say, you know, if it gets to that point, you know, obviously we have an office that deals with compliance and recycling. That is something the county does. So you do have that support as well. But obviously you want to keep it friendly and try first a phone call and or an email and just be like, hey, can we work out this issue and try to keep it really friendly, you know?
Yeah. That's all. Probably
Jody,
have to
you raised
find-
your hand.
Oh, just, we have the same issue. Our building only has a recycling dumpster for paper. So we separate all of our stuff in our office, but we have kind of an internal sign up sheet and we take turns bringing the other recyclings home and bringing them to our individual towns. It's usually Constantine and I.
Wow.
Going back every Friday, one of us will take the massive recycling can stuff out
Wow.
and bring it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
it's a big building and we're the only ones I think that recycle.
Wow. Yeah, you really shouldn't have to do that. Again, I'm hoping that you can have a conversation about it's really not a big expense to provide the bin. I mean, you can find out, but if they're already doing it for paper, the assumption should be that they should do it for other trash as well. You would think that it's just a matter of one more, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Okay.
I have a
10
concern.
minutes. Yeah. Brenda.
So, how in New York City we have paper straws for Dunkin's and Starbucks, like for coffee and stuff. And eventually, when you drink your coffee, if it's a cold iced one, so the paper starts melting, or like, you know, it gets soaked in the
Yeah.
ice. So, like,
Starbucks doesn't do that anymore. They have the cup lids, the plastic lids where they're the sippy cups to get rid of the straws. I'm not saying that's better because it's still plastic. I'm just saying Starbucks has thought of that. Other stores
yes.
in the paper straw, but those of us who like iced coffee know that doesn't work. But that's why they're doing the sippy cups now. They don't have the straws as much.
Yeah, but I think it would be more to carry our own metal straws wherever we go. Because like
No.
instead of asking for even for a paper straw, like we still have to use a recycled paper or we still have to use a paper, we have to fold it in. I mean, like there's so much work into it. So like encouraging metal straw, it's just a small thing in your bag. It's not gonna hurt anyone. So like it's something that can be used. I don't know.
Well,
it's
if you start
sustainable
carrying your
enough
metal
whole-
straw, you should carry a whole cup probably to get it refilled. But
I thought
wonder,
of that.
I don't drink coffee, but I wonder if during COVID they even let you use your own cup, you know, for health.
They didn't for a while.
Yeah, you have to hand it to them. That's what they were making us do. You had to hand it to them and then take it back and put your own.
Yeah, and I'm sure these policies have changed. Like originally, you know, with at the grocery store, they didn't want to touch your bags. Now they do because they realize COVID's not spread on campuses. So everyone's changing their policies. And look, fortunately, at least around here, COVID is hopefully under control. And a lot of these sort of extreme measures are going to go away. The flip side of all of this is that most people haven't been going to Starbucks during COVID. So there has been hopefully a reduction in waste in terms of just the number of people going to these like takeout type places, at least up in the suburbs. I think a lot of people have been sort of in quarantine. In the city, maybe it's different, but yeah, the straw thing has really been getting a lot of attention. Honestly, I would look at it more holistically, like Jana's saying. You're talking about a small piece of plastic. Yes, it's bad, but you have maybe a whole plastic cup, or you're using plastic things in other ways. If you want to reduce plastic, that's one good thing you can do. But I would say it's not like, you know, maybe look at other ways you can save plastic, you know, that maybe would have a bigger impact and not worry so much about, you know, that one thing. But obviously every little thing you can do helps. So I don't want to discourage anyone from doing that. I just think for some reason the whole straw thing just got it became this big thing, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, it's true that we buy so much more plastic
Right.
that we need to address.
A single water bottle or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
We use lots of metal straws at home. So my son has to have a straw, so he has a whole supply of washable ones. So
How do you clean them? Because I use a lot of straws for my baby because, you know, he has the sippy cups and all that. And we bought the little brushes to like try to clean them? I mean, it is a pain, but do you put them in the dishwasher, or do you like hand wash them with the little brushes?
I brush them out really well first, and then I put them in the dishwasher. Is what
Oh,
I
you
do.
do? Okay.
Most of the
I
metal
wash
straws
them.
now actually
Yeah.
come.
We actually use them at the lab. So, right, because we use the straws to dispense milk that's connected to some tubing. And we have 4-inch straws for dispensing milk. And then we have a long straw in our mixer. And we immediately soak it in alcohol while we're waiting for it to go in the dishwasher. Then we have a brushing it with alcohol.
Okay.
We rinse it, then we put it in the dishwasher because we have to make sure it's sterilized.
Right.
We just received a shipment of samples. Speaking of straws, we use paper straws here, but I don't give them unless people ask for them.
Right. That's good.
Bamboo, which is what our plates and so forth are. Wheat, as a gluten-free facility, I don't know if I can use these. And reed. So this is called Holy City Straw Company, and I haven't done the research yet as to if these products are actually, bona fide green or whatever. But, I'm pointing this out because I got this in the mail as samples the other day. And also, everyone is jumping on the bandwagon to make money. They see that
Right.
it might be a
Exactly.
market, the whole straw thing. We sold straws, we're out of them now. Bamboo ones with little pipe cleaners that go with them. And I have to say, not a lot of people purchase them, although we did sell them all and we didn't have that many. But then I see some establishments do the cups with the compostable lids, which, when you don't have a compostable facility to bring those to,
Exactly.
I tend to think that the paper straws might be even more, so it's like another one of those things. You go in circles and you just try to see how things evolve.
Right. I mean, it's so complicated. It's overwhelming with all these new products. But I think something really important that you said is that you don't give a straw unless somebody asks for it. So I think that is so important, because one thing that drives, I think, a lot of us crazy, if we do takeout, and if you say, I don't want the utensils with my order, and they put them in there anyway, crazy.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something that actually, New York City is trying to pass a law right now. I don't know if you've heard about it, where they're actually making it, they want to change the law to the default being that you do not provide all those utensils and extra thing with the takeout orders. And Corey Johnson, the speaker, is not bringing it up for some reason. I guess there's people who think it'll be too complicated and it's going to hurt the small businesses. But it's very interesting because you think it would save them money and it would save them the hassle. But they're worried about that minority of customers who get angry and are like, you didn't give me a fork. But who doesn't have forks at home? You know what I mean?
It's also with the training, because like I teach my staff every day. Did they ask for compostable? We use sporks. We don't use forks, knives, and spoons. It's just sporks, and they're compostable. But ask, don't automatically put it in. It's money that we spend, and also it's waste. Now there are customers that come in every day for lunch. They have an office down the block. I actually give them stainless steel forks because it's like, hopefully you have a drawer of them and you're saving them and reusing all these compostables. It's just endless. As far as the compost conversation, I know not everybody is in towns and villages that provide this, but a lot of the farmers markets now provide receptacles where you can bring your compost, if that's of help to anyone. I know we're talking about business. Maybe you don't want to carry your compost home. I sometimes have bins of compost in my car overnight because I drop it off at a farm. But there's also farms that take it, local farms. You'd be surprised, possibly local community gardens.
Mhm.
So it's just, to build a compost is very, very easy, and you could create a flower garden and use it. So it's a thing, I know, but there's more, I found places to bring it than meets the eye. So far as the compost goes.
Thank you for that. I know Westchester County, I think, just opened a composting facility, and there were some details released a couple of weeks ago that I believe is open for drop off for any business or individual. I need to get the details, but that's something, when we learn more about that, we'll circulate that to those of you that are in Westchester, and if that's of interest to you, because I know the county is investing in compost infrastructure. So thank you for this is turning into a really great conversation. It's really interesting. Could do a whole event on like composting and that kind of stuff. I mean, we could speak about it for hours.
Yeah, it's a big topic, but we are almost up to an hour. So does anyone have like a last comment? It was a great conversation. Jody?
Yeah.
You're muted.
Up, Jody, you're muted.
Yes, sorry. I was just going to say our green team, we're actually, they requested that we speak about composting at our next meeting. And so I know that Celine is putting together a bunch of materials to distribute to the staff. So if you guys have anything that's already produced, we would be happy to digitally distribute that as well. I'm sure it would be very helpful. Like materials.
Okay.
That would be a great thing also to talk, maybe send a note on I don't know if you're in the Google group, but I think there's so much composting info out there. I could definitely collect some links from the county site. Since I work for the county, I'm familiar with those resources. So that's something that I can follow up with you on. And I don't know, maybe Yana or Teresa, if we have some extra minutes, we can send you other things that we've come across. But I would just, tap into our Green Business Network as much as possible, because I know a lot of people have spent a lot of time on composting.
Okay.
When is your meeting?
We just had it last, so it'll be three weeks from now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
So
We're
you
meeting
got
once
3
a month.
weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
did recycling and that went over really well. So
Great.
thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. This was amazing conversation. So we'll meet again in 4 weeks for the energy session. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. In New Hampshire, it's going to be warm week. So
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's really
Enjoy.
great.
Yana,
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. Great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Yana, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
The letter that goes out to the tenant, I sent that